Mind over matter, overcompensating, overstatements, crookedness related, a soul's churn in return, mental overstimulation, one word, riveting, it terrors my pilot. Streams that are promised to make seeking less. Greetings. Welcome back to Mad Poet Podcast. I am your host, Alex Murdoch, the Mad Poet. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a warm day. You know, it's I'm not sure where you are in the world, but we're not all having warm and teddy nights right now. It's quite the sprinting weather right now, where it's icy out there. So hope you're keeping warm, hope you're keeping healthy, and going around in London, and it's not nice. I haven't caught it yet, but I'm hoping I won't. I'm hoping it miss me with that, essentially. But we do what we do, man. So we'll see how that goes. And so that's why I say I hope everybody's doing well, apart from the obvious, all that good stuff, etc. It's been that type of week. Getting used to the cold has been that type of year, or that type of half a year. I think it's been cold since around August. Somewhat extreme, but not to me, It's not, the warm don't last long, in my opinion, but I could just be speaking for myself, but I digress, as they say. A few things to unravel, just to, speak on down the rabbit hole, as I like to say, etc. But before anything, let me just undo my sleeves and get into this piece. Rhyme not intended, but yeah, I have the quote for the day. And I hope you can relate. So, this is what I have for today. Corrosive like osmosis through the daunting times I've lived, like a solar flare with the highlights and nightmares rolling in pairs, extra squares for the solutions that I've found, wearing futility gowns, delirious in the cranium as the mind all bright like the orange splashed over the sun. Some call it chaos as it expands like the iron in the mind, licking like Zion in the kind that ignites. Grown like the white in the absence of melanin type, the mind has fed so long on iron that all that exists in sight is a bind, the unkind that make the world grow like gambler's disease or crime. Feed me the release, then I'm seldom fine, then I'm looking like, what's the point? Perhaps in another time I may find solutions that make the unwind less like Kilimanjaro as I climb. Yes, indeed. So, this was the piece for today. And as I always say, I hope you can relate to where I took this one. But if nothing else, I'm here to somewhat enhance your plight to, where I'm going. And perhaps at the end of this, it might make more sense to you where I'm coming from, or where I'm looking to take this in terms of my mindset and my viewpoint. But as I always say, questions, right? Questions.
And I have a few questions where this is concerned. Questions. So these are the questions I have. Well, I have a few, but let's start with here. Let's start here. Does it pay to be a pessimist and or cynical, as opposed to the optimist? Like, I suppose where I'm going is, between the two, like, what weighs more in terms of benefits? When I think about the cynical kind, the pessimist, I think that one thing that somewhat gives them or make them sleep warm at night is the fact that, you know what, I never had the chance to take this, or I never had the chance to take this risk, to be in this situation where somebody might put me at a disadvantage, take advantage of me on a larger scale, in whatever capacity you might imagine, Take me for a ride, as we say in the UK, take the Mickey Mouse, take me for a clown, basically. In other words, there's so many things to this situation we call life, but at the same time, there's the other side of things. You have the optimist, and the one thing about the optimist, they're prone to be more open, more risk friendly, you could say, wanted to be in a situation or wanted to climb, but to climb, you've got to risk losing something, don't you? You've got to risk losing something to gain anything in life. To win, one has to lose first, don't they? That's the what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, controversial take on things, in my opinion. So, it's such a tricky thing. So here we are, like I said, the optimist or cynical person versus the optimist. And the one thing they have in common is the one thing they have in common is the need to take risks, because that's what life's about, right? Part of it. But their outlook is what differentiates them from each other. Now the question is, which one outlook is more beneficial, I would say. I mean, speaking from my situation personally, or the way I approach this in terms of the way I see it, I mean, for me, it would have to be, the one thing I have to say to begin with, when I think about the optimist and what they bring to the table, yes, you're more at a disadvantage, I would say, to fall into a bind, if you will, a situation. But isn't that part of life? The fact that you might fall down, trip, break your toe, break a limb, but the advantage of that is that you get to learn again. You get to learn and try again. You get to adapt. You get to, make of it what you will and change for the better, or change it for the better. That's the question, essentially. Are you able to make your situation better pertaining to what you're trying to gain and the risks that comes with that? I think we should start there, you know? Just ask yourself that to begin with. But yes, of course, I'm an optimist, and I'm somewhat biased because by default I would choose the optimist, because the plight by default resonates with me, and I think. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that, the pessimist doesn't necessarily take risks. However, I think there's a disadvantage that comes with that. The viewpoint of the pessimist is what somewhat put them at a disadvantage to begin with. And not only affecting your outlook, your results, I think it's a problem for your general life. So I think you really have to think about, I guess, to wrap it in a bow, to be a pessimist to that extreme that I'm speaking about, you risk not necessarily living. You don't live, do you? You're merely surviving. Yes, indeed. At the end of the day, the end goal of life is to live life trying to survive. Then I suppose you pretty much missed the point. But I just wanted to give some breakdown on that thought extensively. Are you a product of your environment, or is your environment a product of your making?
Mind over matter, overcompensating, overstatements, crookedness related, the soul's churn in return, mental overstimulation, one word, riveting, it tells my pilot. Streams that are promised to make seeking less,